Welcome back. So today I'm going to be going into how to aim and how my settings affect gaming and how it affects aiming. Um, Essentially, I'm just gonna be going into why, kind of like, especially specifically, apologies, why the actual aim settings improve how you aim and why my settings could potentially be better than your settings. So I'm gonna be kind of going in depth a little bit onto how I pick these settings, why I would pick these settings, and just generally how they affect gameplay. So, as a natural, I'm a big fan of every SMG in the game. SMGs in this game seem to be just kind of goated, in my opinion. Um, so I base a lot of my settings around close range fighting, which is probably why, if you'd watched my previous video, I went into why my pro-optic settings all look like one, um, which can lead to these sometimes being a little bit slower. Um, than some of these ones up here because I mainly use my 1x optic for because I am just a close range fighter as a fragger. Um, so just have that in mind when you're watching this. So my settings, just as a review, go and look as such. This is essentially what it looks like. This is the 4:3 linear in ALCs. I do this on my console because I double up and I play on PC also sometimes when I'm filming other types of videos or whatever and I'm playing with friends. So I like to play on PC aim assist. That way I'm not having to switch up a lot, essentially. And PC allows you to get a little bit more grip over your aim, where a majority of what you're doing is what you're doing rather than aim assist, because aim assist gets halved when you're on PC compared to default. So this is 0.6, this is 0.3. Um, so I like to play on PC for that reason. So these are 4:3, so literally your normal 4:3 in here, but I do that because you can't have your PC aim assist on with these. So this is the only time that PC aim assist is allowed. So you have to do it in here. And so there's different converters that I've done to bring these to a perfect 4:3 linear, but just with less aim assist. So that's essentially what this is. And the linear, I just moved my dead zone to 20%. Anywho's, so when you aim, right, you want to make it so that when you're close enough to the target, you want to, there's kind of like a cutoff. When do you aim and when do you not aim, right? You're aiming either way, but like whenever you're ADS, like you're looking down your sights, when do you want to do that compared to your hip fire? So, as a baseline, assuming that your ADS is at a 3 and your look is at a 4, you realize you're going to have a faster flick time on hipfire than you do looking, right? So you want to know that as hipfire, you're going to be most accurate as well as like your spread. See that spread? You're going to have to be a close range. Like you're not going to be from this distance, like trying to hipfire them. That is like almost no damage, right? No brainer. But we're just going over the basics. So at this distance, you know you'll probably want to aim like this, right? You want to track them with your ADS. Now, at what point does that swap over to hipfire? So how I like to do it is whenever the head of the player is also like when they're crouched, it's centered, like right in the middle of where all four of my lines would intersect if they were also built in, like right in the center of the reticle, or as soon as the feet and the head are hitting the top bars. So see right here and watch. It's a lot more here. Let's do this again. So like back a little bit. It's like around here-ish. See how that does a solid amount of damage compared to if you stand back here, it's a little more rough on the edges. I mean, you can still do it, but I think that's kind of like at least the trade-off in my opinion, because then you'll be more accurate with your ADS at that distance. Um, but anyhow, like anywhere near here is probably like maybe that might be a little too far away, but you get the general gist of it. About whenever your head and the feet hit the bar, that's where I would kind of start doing it, and it'll feel pretty natural when you're doing it. Like you're pretty light on your right stick, and you're kind of just like kind of cruising. Sometimes it's nice to have that constant like walk too. That way you can like go back, and you'll see pros do like half a hip fire straight into an ADS like as they're walking backwards, which can be very helpful, or going into something like that where you have like an ADS and then you do a hip fire. That's really important. This is a really nice tech, and I'll go over techs a little bit later. But whenever you start essentially on a left trigger, you can go to your hip fire and it'll be just as accurate as your left triggered aim, but it'll stay consistent in your hip fire. So you can kind of do See, that's a lot more consistent. It's almost like a gold laser's immediately added to your weapon. Very consistent, very nice. So some pros like to do that. I would be one of them. Though in my videos I don't really use it too much, just because sometimes it can be a little bit too much on the brain to be able to do that pretty consistently. But yeah, so that's kind of a rough little outline. Other things include, like, how do you strafe when you're aiming at a target? Like, very fundamentally, and overthinking this is just as bad as underthinking it. Apologies. Like, I like to break it down in multiple different ways. So let me demonstrate. This is walk track. When you're walking, not touching your right stick, and it's your left. This is your walking. So I call it walk tracking because you're walking and you're tracking. Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you get the gist of it, but it's walk tracking. You're not doing right stick. And this can, I mean, it's like 50% of your aim, right? It should be a little bit more than 50%, but you want to be using a combination of this, which is what a lot of players kind of get messed up, is doing a combination of walk tracking and aim tracking. So you can start doing counter and mirror strafes and really locking onto that target a little bit. For those of you that are familiar with, like, geometry, if you're familiar with triangulation, it's essentially when you have 3 lines and they all are used to locate a coordinate on a plane. It's very similar to that, where you have the person's movement, you're walking, and you're aiming. All 3 of those things, right? Your triangulation, your 3 lines creating a coordinate to get you that perfect sauce aim. Now, not all aiming is... There's not going to be an end-all be-all for aim, and there's not like one thing that's better than another. Though there are things that you maybe want to prioritize, like walking when you can, like, because your walking will always be the same as another person's walking at a native state, right? Like when I'm walking, like when I'm tracking this guy, it's gonna stay perfect to him. I just have a reaction time, and that's what makes walk tracking bad. Right, but like say you're playing against an Octane and you're like a Wraith or something like that, and he's moving faster, then that's when you want to start doing a little bit of your aim, right? Because then you can do like, you can track him a little bit and you can start doing your aim and you can rebound off of walls and track like easier, if that makes any sense. So you're kind of using your aim as like a boost whenever you can't keep up with a walk track. That's how I like to think about it. And you want to kind of like jitter your walking to make it unpredictable. So you want to equally make sure that you can track the target, and you want to make sure that when you're tracking the target, right, you want to make sure that you are prioritizing your shot, and you want to be responsive to the movements. You don't want to initiate a poor movement on your end. You want to act unpredictable, and you want to make them the most predictable, if that makes any sense. So if you think that they're like, oh, like the target's about to hit a wall, they probably see the wall, they're going to bounce back. Get ready to bounce back, so you kind of like swerve out a little bit, and then you're ready to reply out, if that makes any sense. You see that? How you can do like maybe a jitter, like having a net movement to your left, and then as soon as you hit the wall, you could do like a slide out like that. So you're creating an environment that you would like to play on, and you're taking them on it because they don't have a choice. You're removing options from them and adding it to options for you, if that makes sense. So you can live in the best scenario ever, and then they can suffer from your best scenario, right? That's the whole point of aiming. So having that knowledge, what is the ratio? Is there a perfect ratio for aiming and walking? Not exactly, and that's where there's not an end-all be-all. But I see a lot of bad players using too much of their aim, and this especially goes for you roller players like MNK. You guys got flicks, maybe you use more aim for that. But for controller players, you want smooth. You want just a beam, really. You don't want to flick in a little cat, you know? You want a nice beam, you know? So in this, right, you want to make your swapping real smooth. So sometimes what I like to do is I like to swap my walk track, right? So this is a counter, and then I'll like swap from counter into a mirror sometimes. So see how I'm in a counter, well now I'm in a mirror. Counter, 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 mirror. You see how I kind of like swap in between them. So mirror, mirror, counter, counter, mirror, counter, mirror, counter, counter, mirror. So you want to like keep that going through your brain at the time, like when you're aiming, and then that'll like allow you to reply in your aim a little bit nicer, if that makes any sense. So I'm kind of doing ADS at this range just because it makes my life showing this to you, the viewership's easier, but yeah, you'd want to be using your hipfire for this. So I use a really raw input. It doesn't really have any aim acceleration. If you're one of the people who likes aim acceleration, your hipfire might be a little bit better. It kind of gets a little jittery for me, but you'll find yourself using a higher amount of right stick movement, which is your aim, whenever you're ADS'd because it's slower. And so you have to know whenever you you have to realize when you're doing that into a hipfire. Watch this. If I'm staying at a constant right stick like this, look how much faster it accelerates. And this is I'm not moving my right thumb. This is just the 4 to the 3 talking. So you have to know, like when you're tracking a target and you're getting close or they're approaching you, right? If you're in something like this, you got to dial it back for your hipfire so that way you can keep your beam going, keep it steady while you're swapping. See that? So I just kind of dial it back. It's just a hair, right? It's just enough for that 4-3 to become a 3-2 essentially, because you're just making sure that your hipfire aim does not overtake your ADS aim. Essentially, walk tracking is just going to be the best because you don't have that like jittery aim feel, and you can make it real smooth. And it's really nice just going to a nice counter, and you can kind of just take however like aim you want and counters. It's really nice. I really didn't do much walk aiming or walk track until I was well into my years playing this game, and I couldn't regret it more. Walk aiming is probably something that has transformed my aim the most, and if you think you're walk aiming, walk more. That's like I don't even walk aim enough. And it's really great to understand what a mirror and a counter mirror looks like and how much you should throw your right stick into the equation and how much that's going to have to be subtracted in your next beam so that way you can reset into a fight better. Yeah. So that's another thing to worry about. Another thing to worry about. There's kind of 3 pillars of kind of aiming in this game. It's that, and then it's crosshair placement. So you got your sensitivity down. Nice. You got how to aim down a little bit. Nice. Now it's crosshair placement. If I'm chowing a kid and he's on this corner, I'm not swinging out to here. And this kind of goes into positioning too, as well as crosshair positioning. Like, you don't swing this. Like, this is a stupid decision. You're setting yourself up for the time to elapse from here to here in this game. You are gonna die. Or you're gonna be significantly injured that's gonna get you folded over a table and your team's gonna hate you because of it. You've sold the game if you swing out this far in a 3v3 to win the game. Like, you're exposing yourself to, say, this guy, and this guy on the enemy team, right? Let's say you don't even see these 2 guys, you only see this guy, and you're equal, like, you have equal health as him, and you think just off of raw gun skill you're gonna get the win, and so you swing out, so you have the time to elapse out, and say, even in this so just say, from the elapsed time from you kicking out, he's reacting to it. He sees you hit the ground, and you can do any amount of strafe here that you can. And I mean, maybe if you're lucky, you get him. If you're real lucky. But like, at that point, you're significantly injured, and now you have to go all the way back and over and try to break the LOS between these 2 players by going back here, which this guy's probably already swaying out. And even if these 2 guys are here, right, and you barely win the fight against them, they're going to kill you, or they're also going to shoot at you while you're fighting this guy, you're going to get yourself killed. Like, it's a terrible position to swing out of. So you never want to be down there in the first place. If you're stuck in this position, just climb up on this and slide inwards so you break the LOS. You can do anything from here. You could go all the way back here, and you could play this now, or whatever, but best thing about aiming is not pushing your dick into every single fight, but taking the smart ones. And that's going to be the origin of everything for you when you play games. When you play any games, Apex, anything. Take the smart fights. Because now you have the upper hand. You can play this heady, and your aim and your health, like your survivability while you're aiming, has just gotten 10 times better. Because now you can see their whole body when they can only see your head. And I'll show you what this looks like in third person for those of you who don't know what a head glitch is. Like, you see how from his perspective he only sees like with the hood of my head? Yeah. But you can see his entire body. This would be a head glitch. This is a better example. See how you can see kind of his whole body, and we're in third person, so you can't really see it as well. But like, see how you can see the whole body of him right here? He can barely see your noggin. Like that's a great beam. And from that like position, like he's not gonna hit all headshots on you. Don't worry. Like that's not gonna happen. You're hiding your aim assisted body, so he's just gonna be raw inputting, and he's gonna be throwing that thing off because he's not used to it. Not even a keyboard and mouse player would be able to do that. That is inhuman. You cannot do that. But like once you're up in this situation now, you have your crosshair placement. You can play this however you want. You want to play a hipfire game, you can play a hipfire game. You have a hipfire game. You want to play a game where you can kind of like take a top on one of them and try and like get them half cracked, you can. Like positioning is key to aiming. Key. Notice how it is a lot easier, and this is just an example of good positioning, how easy it is to beam someone from the side like this compared to someone who has a lot of horizontal movement. Like this is just vertical. You have a lot more area. Like you have a higher height than they have a width on the character. See how that makes your life a little difficult? Yeah. So you want to accelerate on a position like this rather than a position like this, which granted, if you're good at aiming, you can one mag these people fairly easily. I mean, from that distance at that, like it's pretty difficult to one mag someone like that, especially without a magazine. But like from here, it should be one magging this every time on red, essentially. If you're doing everything perfectly right. But that's what we're working on. We're working on perfection here. We're not striving to be and like knowing and being perfect. We're striving to be perfect. There is a difference there. The difference between being perfect and striving to be perfect is you can never be perfect. But like, yeah, that's key. Knowing when the opponent off of what character they're playing. If you're playing against characters such as Pathfinder, Wraith, almost all skirmishers. I'll just say all skirmishers, most assaults, and like a few recons. These like if you're playing against like a Bloodhound, a Valkyrie, or a Sparrow, any assaults or any skirmishers, those are gonna be your fragger kind of characters. You can expect them to be peeking around corners as well as Caustic. I'll add Caustic to that pile as well. But like they're gonna be challenging you. Because they're challenging you to that fight, because they are fraggers as well. So they're going to be challenging you to that. You need to have the mental preset to be able to be like, okay, they're going to chow and be ready to take the chow, rather than keeping yourself in a fight that you're about to get chowed onto. You're basically hitting them with an Uno reverse, and now where they're expecting to push you, you're expecting to defend. And if you're expecting the defense, you're going to be more successful than their offense, if that makes any sense. With their offensive push, if you're doing a defensive hold, like if he's going to come cruising around the corner, if you're ready to take him on this, you can take the strafe out. If he's going to hit a mantle jump, you can play into this, right? Because you have that cover, you can play it. It's nice. See this guy, right? From his perspective, he's coming up. Oh, okay. Now you caught him with his pants down. It's the same situation over there. Now you're stuck in a terrible situation. You have no cover to play, and you had a guy who has already been beaming you because he was expecting you to be there, right? So that would be kind of an idea of crosshair placement, of just placement of the body as well. Like crosshair placement, you're ready for him to go out because you've taken the position, you have the mental capability of being, hey, I'm going to get pushed, go out, and now your crosshair is stuck here so that you can get your initiatory beam. That's why I'm connecting them to. Because now you're here, so you want to hold this, maybe a little delayed out here, that way you have brain reaction time to track again. If that makes any sense. So your positioning and your crosshair placement are very, very similar. If you're playing here, you're ready to chow out, take the beam. Now that's the other pillar of aiming. Now that you have it locked on, you just gotta take care of it. And then learning your sensitivity is the third one. You know? Now it's just a matter of you perfecting what you've learned in the firing range to just go whoop them. You know? So those would be how I would describe aiming. Again, if you didn't watch that previous video, my sensitivities are as such right here. I love these settings. I hold them very dear to my heart. They're good. 4:3 linear is a very classic pro setup. If you're a console and you don't plan on going to PC, definitely move at the bottom of that ALC setting. Move this to default. This is going to just make aim assist do more than you. Aim assist is not cheating, and for the last time, it's a rebalance for MNK players who have an advantage using their arms. It gives you, as a controller player, a little bit of a rebalance, because MNK players, they use their entire arm to aim, where we just have a tiny little thumb. 2 tiny little thumbs. Like, it's very unbalanced, so we have aim assist to kind of rebalance it. So the more you can use aim assist, the better you're going to be set off. It's not overpowered, it's just a rebalance. And yeah, that's kind of my grand guide. I might go into future videos on tacticals and ultimate cooldowns and how those are affected in gameplay. Those are very character specific, so yeah. But just know, when you're taking a fight, focus on positioning and crosshair placement, how you're aiming, with that, the ratio kind of like how you're aiming as a core with your 2 sticks. And then 3 was the sensitivities and how those impact your aim. There's not an end-all be-all setting. If you take my settings, you're like, I don't like this, tweak it. It's off of you. You don't just go to a pro and be like, hey, I'm going to use this pro settings because he's good, I want to be good, boom. You're not going to look at my video and be like, oh, he's good, I'm just going to do whatever he does, and then I'll be good. It's a very specified, player-specific thing. Again, there's not an end-all be-all. Do what you feel comfortable with because it's your aiming. Granted, you can try different sensitivities and be like, oh, wow, I like this combination a lot better than what I previously had, and that's not a bad thing, because at that point, you like it more, if that makes any sense. So take my settings, try them around. This is what I personally like, and I'm glad that I could kind of simplify down what aiming is as a core and how to do it, and hope you all have a splendid day. Thank you for watching, and yeah, have a Merry Christmas. Bye, y'all.